I can't say why I feel so compelled to write about my experience. Maybe it's to get it all off my chest or to process things, I don't know. I couldn't tell you why I wish to share this with others. Perhaps I want to feel less alone through everything. I should start with the beginning, though I won't bore you with any unnecessary details. My name's Marcus, and I am an English teacher at my local middle school called Davidson. My hometown, which we'll call X for the sake of this account, is located in the further reaches of the Pacific Northwest, so we're surrounded by untamed wilderness and some small, albeit vast, mountain ranges. I returned several months ago after finishing college and completing my state certification. I had been gone for 4.5 years, so by the time I got back, I was honestly relieved to see the same familiar faces I'd known for so long. I spent my first 2 weeks ecstatically catching up with my friends and family. I know 4.5 years isn't super long, but it felt like a lifetime since I had been back here. I had fallen into a pit in college. When I wasn't working on my major, I partied from sunrise to sunset. I never allowed myself the privilege of any supremely reckless irresponsibility, although I could have completed my degree in half the time if not for the booze and mingling. I've come to regret that period. But I now understand what led me to that point in the first place. It wasn't long after I started teaching at Davidson that I abruptly realized why exactly I had been so hedonistic during college. X is a small, quaint, and tight-knit community, but a few things make it especially unique from other small American towns. On a surface level, one could point to the uncanny air the place gives off, like the town is a Hollywood film set trying far too hard to evoke some Stephen King-esque Smallville. Going a layer deeper, there are the constant and persistent urban legends that surround damn near every facet of the place. For instance, here are a few that I can remember from off the top of my head. Children and adults alike have long claimed that the rivers and lakes of X are home to nocturnal flying orbs that sing with seraphic beauty. Unwitting people out past 10 or midnight in some tellings could be drawn in, enchanted, by the singing and drown when they looked for its source. Another one comes from when I was in elementary school. The story goes something like this. A young woman was home alone at night in the dead of winter. She sat reading in her room and would hear rustling trees in the wind at random intervals. The third time she heard it, she felt a pang of unease as she realized that the sound was unfathomably close. It wasn't muffled as if through the window. It sounded like she was outside in the forest. So she got up and looked to see if her window was open. It wasn't. Then she heard another sound from just behind her. It sounded like a cat crying in her closet. Thinking that maybe her pet cat had gotten in there and hurt himself, she approached the door and opened it only to find an arsenal of clothes and old trinkets. At this point, the girl went to bed. A couple of hours later, she heard her cat meow, which awakened her, only she couldn't see anything except faint glimmers of soft light. Her heart sank into her gut as her eyes finally adjusted. Pressed against her face was another alien visage, ghastly pale, and its huge dark eyes mere millimeters from her own. The girl couldn't help but shriek. This tale centered around an entity known as the Womai, and there were many more like it. All of the legends involved the Womai lurking in dark corners or secluded areas of people's homes, though the story I just shared is often considered the first. The girl in it is said to be Maddie Haynes, who had gone missing many years before I was born. The third and final legend I'll bother to share now as an example centers around a being called Durganda, supposedly a beast that appears as a massive deer with yellow human eyes and human teeth. Its hands are said to be thin, five-fingered claws like branches of a dead tree. It walks on its hind legs with an awkward lurching gait. Durganda is said to lurk around forests near Christmas, searching for children. Once Gehenda found a suitable victim, it would whisper arcane secrets into the child's ear, coaxing them to come with it voluntarily, never to be seen again. Other incarnations of Der Gehenda state that the monster prowls the more secluded wooded suburbs of town, looking for an open window into a house with a child in it. Once it finds such a home, Der Gehenda whispers through the window as the child sleeps, which causes the child to sleepwalk out into the night and unknowingly follow Gehenda back to its lair. That one always stuck with me. All this is to say that X has an eventful folklore surrounding it. While the tales terrified me as a kid, I ceased believing in them once I reached the 8th grade. I rarely thought about the legends thereafter and forgot many of them. That was until I came back to teach at Davidson. One more thing I should add here is that when I first got back, I was caught off guard by the monumental increase in missing posters, most faded, torn up, or creased from temporal exhaustion. There have always been missing people in X since the town was first founded, but this was unlike anything I had seen in my lifetime. One couldn't walk even 2 blocks without seeing a haunting gallery of missing faces. The missing ranged from infants to young adults to the elderly. One day on my way to work, 2 weeks ago give or take, I encountered one of my much older friends, Tim, who works as a police officer, stapling another missing poster onto a wooden light post. This time it was a young boy, no older than 6. I asked Tim what was happening. "Well," he said, clearing his throat, hesitant to speak so frankly about this subject. They had been rising gradually for years, but they seemed to really ramp up about that spring before you went off to college. After that, it was like every other day someone new was missing. We gathered town-wide search parties that would look for weeks on end for these people, day and night. But nothing ever turned up. The FBI got involved briefly, but every case went cold within hours, maybe a couple of days if we were lucky. So they left swift as sin when they realized the cause was truly lost. Since then, we've done our best. We still send out search parties, but they get smaller and smaller each time. The feds even check in from time to time. Thankfully, though, the disappearances died down as of late. This one here is the first in almost 4 months. I was floored by what he told me. Timidly, I thanked him for sharing, and we both went our separate ways. That brings me to what occurred last night. While brushing my teeth, I was interrupted by a slow tapping on the bathroom window. This bathroom is in my bedroom on the 2nd floor, so I didn't think much of it and continued brushing. It's obviously not uncommon for trees to scrape against or knock at the windows. I heard it a second time. The taps were firm and deliberate. They came in a sextuplet. The hair on my neck and arms stood on end. I was already on edge from the disappearances, my memories of being mortified to go to sleep or walk to school as a kid, and the vivid pictures of these horrific abominations returning to the forefront of my mind, having been released from the inner sanctum of my subconscious. I gazed intently at the glazed window into the darkness outside. Slowly, I could make out a shape blurred by the glass. The figure was humanoid and fleshy. Upon further inspection, it appeared as if a naked man was somehow leaning against the window facing away from me. I stifled the urge to scream and madly finished what I was doing. I tried to pretend that I was merely hallucinating, that I was just tired and stressed. As I spit out the toothpaste, I heard 6 sluggish taps on the glass. Reluctantly, I forced myself to look back at the window. There was nothing. I went to bed immediately after that. But my night was restless and filled with catastrophic anxiety. I had returned completely to my fearful childhood in mere minutes. I sat up curled in a cocoon of blankets, watching Monty Python movies with the lights on all night. So that brings me to today. I've been writing all of this in my classroom before school starts. I needed some way to make sense of everything. This likely won't be my final post or writing. A Herculean weight has been lifted off of my shoulders. I might actually start keeping a real journal from now on. Thank you for listening to my ramblings. I greatly appreciate it. I'll see you all sometime soon.